Okay. Receiving your content. Think we're live. Let's see. Do. 1 second, folks. Making sure I'm live on, as Bernie Sanders says, the YouTube, which was a wonderful moment in tonight's debate. Let's see. Am I live? Oh, I'm live. All right. Fantastic. I'm going to wait for a couple more viewers to come in. I will be talking a little bit lower than I normally do because it is 10 o'clock Eastern time and I don't want to upset the neighbors in my apartment complex. But the Democratic debate just ended between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. Quite a lot to talk about. Let's want to give it just a minute, get some more people trickling in so I don't have to restart the whole thing. It was a 2-hour debate. I thought, as usual, the debate moderators were quite awful. I thought Bernie Sanders for the first half hour was pretty awful. But I think Bernie Sanders picked it up kind of in the middle after they pivoted away from the coronavirus, which might have been a strategy altogether. So press the like button. Very, very important that you press that like button. It's the thumbs up button right under this live stream. The more people that press that like button, we'll get this live viewership up significantly. I kindly ask you to also support us if you can. We are now just 10 members away from 1,850, and tomorrow night we have our members only call. Jen and I, statuscoup.com/join. We will have our members call tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern time, 4:30 Pacific. If you become a member today or tomorrow, you will get a link to join this video call with Jen and I. We answer your questions, comments, concerns. You don't have to be on video. You can mute your video if you don't want to be on camera. So let's talk about this debate. First of all, as a journalist, my first thought, thank you for the super chat, Rick Wallace. What's up, Jordan? Just doing a live stream. That's it. As a journalist, to me, I have never, other than Donald Trump, and I would compare what Joe Biden did tonight to Donald Trump on a daily basis. Other than Donald Trump, I have never, ever, as a journalist, seen a politician so chronically and casually lie as Joe Biden did tonight. That's why I made the headline, a historic lying spree. Joe Biden tonight lied in ways that we have not seen in a significantly long time on this debate stage. He totally rewrote his entire political record on that debate stage. Finally, Bernie Sanders called him out on doing so. Whether it's too late or not, we don't know yet. But Joe Biden lied about pretty much his entire political record with a straight face, to the point where Bernie Sanders had to ask him 3 different times, wait a minute, are you saying you didn't go on the Senate floor calling for cuts to Social Security? Is that what you're telling me? And Joe Biden said no. And because, as I tweeted, we don't actually have journalists moderating these debates, we have basically mannequins lying these debates. They're mannequins. They don't correct lies. They don't challenge the candidates when they lie. So the candidates know they can just lie. So Joe Biden literally said 3 times, I never called for Social Security cuts. Well, I'm not watching right now because I'm live. I am sure CNN, I am sure MSNBC, the out-of-touch elitist pundits that are probably praising Joe Biden are probably focusing 100% on the fact that he committed tonight to appointing a female vice president. That is probably all what they're going to be talking about, where Bernie Sanders, instead of pandering, instead of just going with the easy thing that would get headlines, said, I'm inclined to do that, yes, but didn't give a firm answer. I think it would have been clearly pandering if Bernie Sanders said, yes, I'll commit to that. But Joe Biden lied and said he did not call to cut Social Security multiple times. Not only call to cut Social Security, but bragging about how much he called. We've all seen the clip. Joe Biden in the 1990s was bragging about I called for it once. I called for it twice. I called for it 3 times. I called for it 4 times. Cutting Social Security. I would be shocked if CNN or MSNBC actually point out that he was lying. Bernie Sanders told people to go to the YouTube and check it out. Whether or not he'll do it, we don't know. We don't know. Whether or not people will actually look it up and see that Joe Biden has called for cutting the very older people that are voting for him, has been attacking their benefits and their Social Securities his entire time in the Senate, we'll see. Another just unbelievable lie. I mean, this kind of lying it really challenges Trump. Joe Biden literally said, I didn't write the bankruptcy bill. Joe Biden literally said, I didn't support the bankruptcy bill. What? He was one of the co-sponsors of the bankruptcy bill. Elizabeth Warren, when she had conviction, that was a long time ago, obviously she doesn't anymore, Elizabeth Warren entered politics fighting Joe Biden on the bankruptcy bill. I mean, I'm not going to read this to you, but here we go. The Americans Joe Biden left behind on the bankruptcy bill. In 2005 amendments to the bill, Biden voted against borrowers drowning in medical debt, seniors, service members, union members, and victims of deadbeat dads. Joe Biden was a champion of the bankruptcy bill. They called him the senator from MBNA, the bank from Delaware that he was flooding in donations from. He said tonight, I didn't support the bankruptcy bill. I mean, honestly, if Bernie Sanders was a more cutthroat politician, he would have called him a liar. And that's what he should have done. But Bernie Sanders just doesn't have it in him to fully take off the gloves and go for the jugular. And for many reasons, if Bernie Sanders does not win the nomination, if he does not become president, there's a lot of reasons why that is. One of them is he refused to do what needed to be done and to call this motherfucker a liar. Excuse my French, swear jar in the super chat. Joe Biden also, he lied about Social Security cuts. He lied about pushing the bankruptcy bill. He lied again about his vote on the Iraq war, claiming that he voted for the Iraq war because Bush told him he wouldn't go to war. So by giving his vote, he wasn't actually voting for going to war. He was voting to give Bush the green light to send in inspectors. Total lie. Joe Biden, 4 months after the Iraq war was launched, when it was already clearly an epic disaster, when there was clearly serious bloodshed going on, he spoke in July of 2003, 4 months after the war was launched, praising President Bush, calling him a popular leader, calling him a bold leader, saying that he will stand with President Bush. So, okay, you voted for it not knowing he would go to war? Did you not know he went to war? You were then 4 months later cheerleading for President Bush. The guy's a compulsive liar. And what's amazing about this, and thank you for the super chats, Cheryl Tyler, $20. Is Joe lying or is he just confused? I'd say both. Kudos to Joe. His brain didn't malfunction that much. There was no epic fail this time. He did say SARS instead of coronavirus about 4 times. He did confuse Ebola with the coronavirus. In fairness, Bernie Sanders said Ebola instead of corona by accident. Well, ironically, none of these corporate journalists dare ever tweet out when Joe Biden gaffes. When Bernie Sanders mistakenly said Ebola instead of the coronavirus, they all immediately pounced on it on Twitter. Interesting double standard there. They never ever will point out that Joe Biden is forgetting President Obama's name, is forgetting what day it is forgetting where he is forgetting whole sections of the Declaration of Independence. You know, when he said, the thing, is telling his voters to vote on Super Thursday, is confusing his wife and sister. I mean, I could go on. They will never, ever bring this up. But Bernie Sanders makes one error, they're all over it on Twitter, which I pointed out. Thank you, Seth Peterson, $45. The debate is over and no need to watch propaganda MSM anymore. Glad to see Status Coup covering this. Joe Biden is a lying piece of bull dung. Thank you, thank you, thank you. By the way, I'm talking a little bit lower than I normally do. It is 10 o'clock on the East Coast. I don't want to piss off my new neighbors, as my girlfriend and I just broke in here. Make sure you press that like button. We're now at 1,100 viewers live. We got 500 of you have pressed that thumbs up button. We need another 700 of you. Press that thumbs up right under the live stream. The more likes we get, the more viewers we will get. And I kindly, gently, patriotically remind you, sign up for as low as an overpriced cup of Starbucks coffee, $5 a month. You could become a member to Status Coup. We would love to get another 10 new members so that we could go into our call tomorrow night with our members at 1,850. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member right now or tomorrow. You will get an invite to join us on our members only call tomorrow. It's Jen, myself. It's a video call. It's not through YouTube. You sign up. You get to ask us questions, comments, concerns. We laugh. We cry. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific. If you join, you will get the link to join us through Zoom. Statuscoup.com/join. And actually, let me bring out my phone to make sure I'm not missing any member signups. So, what's unbelievable, Joe Biden lied that he never called for cutting Social Security on the debate stage. He lied about, I wasn't in support of the bankruptcy bill. He literally helped write the bankruptcy bill. He lied about the Iraq war. He says, when challenged about fracking, he literally says, and I quote, "So am I. So am I." Talking about he's against fracking. What? What? I think I liked the Joe Biden before a little bit better, who was just totally for these regressive policies and stood by them. Now he's moonwalking and lying about not being for these policies. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Joe Biden in September of last year said, I am not for banning fracking. I am not for banning fracking. On the debate stage tonight, so am I. I'm for a ban on fracking. We're going with the list. He lied about his record on calling for Social Security cuts. He lied about writing the bankruptcy bill. He lied about his vote on the Iraq war. He lied about banning being for a ban on fracking. He lied about supporting and voting for the Hyde Amendment many, many times. And of course, because we don't actually have real journalists in this country, we have public relations professionals, essentially super PACs in CNN, that stood there and let him lie like that. And you want to know something? Honestly, I'm just going to be honest. For the first half hour of this debate, Bernie Sanders was either asleep at the switch, or I don't know what Bernie Sanders was doing for the first half hour of the debate. He barely went at Joe Biden. Possibly his campaign had a strategy on the particular topic of the coronavirus to not go directly at Biden because it could be viewed as trying to politicize the crisis. If that's the case, then you got bad advice, because coronavirus was the exact thing he should have went after Joe Biden for. Not saying that Joe Biden caused it, but pointing out that the very deficiencies, the very disasters that are being revealed in this crisis, in this pandemic, the very holes in our system, the very evil, immoral deficiencies of our system, the very for-profit evil of our system that is being revealed because of the coronavirus. The fact that we don't have paid sick leave as a country. The fact that you literally could still be evicted. You could be evicted during this crisis. The fact that homeless people who are very much at risk of both contracting the virus and giving it off, where are they going to go? The fact that many workers welcome new Status Coup member Susan. Woohoo! We're not screaming tonight. It's a little late here on the East Coast, but welcome, Susan. We are now at 1,841 members, 9 members to go to hit that 1,850 mark. Keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. Colin, if you don't mind dropping that join link in the super chat. Jen's a little under the weather, so Colin Tooley filling in for us there in the super chat, our wonderful editor who makes all these wonderful graphics for Status Coup, by the way. That was the opportunity, the first half hour where the most eyeballs were probably watching, to go at Joe Biden to say, if you were President Joe, maybe it would be a little bit better than the disaster of Trump, of the way Trump is handling this, but the same problems would exist. The same people would be that are feeling symptoms might not go to the doctor because they don't want to pay their massive deductible to get treatment, on which they would still have under Biden care or whatever you want to call it. The same exact people who you want to say the test is going to be free. Well, is the treatment going to be free? Okay, you could provide free tests, but what if somebody gets coronavirus and needs to be hospitalized, needs IVs, needs medication, observation, treatment, is going to be in the hospital for 3-4 days? Is Joe Biden's presidency going to pay for that? I was not convinced that Joe Biden would. And where I think that Bernie, and I'm just being honest with you. I know a lot of you don't like when I criticize Bernie, but I'm just going to keep it real. I also think he did a lot better towards the middle of the debate, which I'm going to get into. What I think that what Bernie Sanders did not get across, he kind of vaguely said it, but I don't think he said it with the gusto that it should have been said. Joe Biden was literally saying, we're in a national emergency. This is a national emergency. So as such, there's going to be no co-pays. Everything will be covered. That's when Bernie Sanders should have turned to him and say, hey, Joe, you don't think people rationing insulin is a national emergency? You don't think over 100,000 people dying because they can't afford health care is a national emergency? You don't think tens of millions of people being underinsured, where they literally have health insurance, but they cannot use it because they can't afford the co-pays, deductibles, and premiums? You don't think that's a national emergency? Why is it that you are willing to just, hey, we're waiving all the fees, everything's going to be paid for from the government because we're in an emergency now? Yes, we're an emergency. Coronavirus is an emergency. You know what else is an emergency? People having to ration insulin, people having to ration antidepressants, people having to ration anxiety pills, people having to ration other life-saving pills, both physically and mental health medication. We are in an emergency. We've been in an emergency for 30 years in this country. And I think Bernie Sanders missed a very, very good opportunity to go at Joe Biden and just say, why is the coronavirus an emergency? Yes, I agree. While the coronavirus is an emergency, why are the daily life Americans are dealing with right now? Why is it that in the states you're winning, Joe Biden, Medicare for all has popular support, but you refuse to support it? Does it have anything to do with all the fundraisers you're doing with healthcare executives? So I think Bernie missed a big opportunity in the first half hour of the debate. I think as it moved on, Bernie Sanders, I think I personally would have went even harsher at him and more aggressively. But I think the fact that Bernie Sanders paused 3 times and said, and just put the onus on Joe Biden and said, wait a minute, I just want to get this on the record. You're saying you did not, on the Senate floor, call for Social Security cuts? Listen, first of all, I said in my live stream earlier, I think the primary should be postponed in all of these states Tuesday. I think even though right now it's Sunday, I think there's a chance by tomorrow night they are postponed. I don't understand how Joe Biden and frankly Bernie Sanders should have said this today. I don't understand how they are urging people to go stand in a line and vote in Ohio, Florida, Illinois, Arizona. You literally have governors of Ohio and Illinois right now shutting down bars, shutting down restaurants, telling people not to be banning any public event with more than 50 people. Well, how are you banning public events with more than 50 people? Closing down restaurants and bars. The only things that are staying open are restaurants that you could get delivery from or pick up, but you can't actually go in and dine in a restaurant in Illinois and Ohio. That was just announced today. And also public events more than 50 people canceled. I'm pretty sure going to the polls has more than 50 people. By the way, just keeping it real, Florida has a lot of older people who are most at risk for this. And frankly, if we're being real, Joe Biden's base is older people. So I think Joe Biden didn't show leadership. I would have liked for Bernie to say, I think they should be postponed. Frankly, if he did say they should be postponed, we all know he would have been hammered for saying that because they would have spun it and said, well, Bernie wants them to be postponed because he's going to get crushed in Florida and these other states. Well, Bernie, they're going to crush you either way, so you might as well do the right thing. They should be postponed. Bernie should have also called out Joe Biden, who literally tweeted out today saying, we can't, democracy can't be put on hold. If you're not feeling symptomatic, if you're feeling no symptoms, you should go vote on Tuesday. Coronavirus, most of the people are asymptomatic who have it. You don't start feeling symptoms for the most part. It could take 4 or 5 days before you start feeling symptoms. So Joe Biden, Dr. Biden here, is literally urging people, because you don't feel symptoms, to go to the voting system. He could be convincing a lot of people who are feeling fine, who have contracted but don't feel it yet, to go wait on a line and make other people sick. But the bottom line is, and I'm not watching the pundits right now, I'm sure they're praising Biden to the high heavens. I'm sure they're saying he's never lied about anything. I'm sure they are already, giving their choices for his female vice president. I thought that Bernie Sanders finally brought it when he started going at him. Wait a minute. You're saying you did not say on the floor of the United States Senate to cut Social Security? The problem is, as great as that was, there's a 3-letter definition. There is a 4-letter word in the English dictionary that usually solicits a strong reaction from people. Welcome new Status Coup member Leo. Woohoo! God, I wish I could scream like I normally do, but it's 10 o'clock and I don't want to get my neighbors pissed. We are now at 8 members away, 1,842. 8 more people, 8 more signups, we would get to 1,850, and then we are very, 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 very close to 2,000, which is our goal for the end of this month. So keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as a cup of coffee a month. And tomorrow night, again, is our members call, 7:30 Eastern. If you sign up as a member today or tomorrow, you'll get the link to join us. You don't have to be on video, by the way. You can mute your video. So if you don't want to be on camera for the call, that's fine too. Bernie Sanders, honestly, should have just called him a liar. I don't know what is it in Bernie Sanders that refuses to do what needs to be done. And honestly, I think it's because Bernie Sanders mistakenly thinks that Joe Biden is a far, far less dangerous threat than Donald Trump. I do think Donald Trump is a worse threat than Joe Biden, but we have to stop in America deciding between shooting ourselves in the head or the balls. Either way, you're shooting yourself. This lesser of two evils, if you keep voting for the lesser of two evils, guess what? You're always going to get crumbs. And yes, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden might have been nice to you in the Senate when everybody else was treating you like a communist, okay? Joe Biden might have, given you that a boy a few times. He's not your friend, Bernie. And he is a dangerous threat. And Joe Biden's policies have trampled on the very working people that you claim to fight for. So I think Bernie Sanders should have called him a liar, because he lied repeatedly, but he chose not to. Why did he choose not to? Well, I could give you a whole host of reasons. He's probably been convinced that if he dares goes against Joe Biden and really takes off the glove, he's helping Donald Trump. But guess what? This is the thing that's so laughable. You think the Bernie, I'm talking to you right now. I know you're watching. You think the Republican Party, the same Republican Party that used Willie Horton ads in the 1980s, the same Republican Party that swift-boated John Kerry in 2004, the same Republican Party of Karl Rove, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, all of these scummy, slimy, douchey Republicans, you think they need ideas from you, Bernie Sanders, to go after Joe Biden? All the ads are already written. They're just locked away in a box waiting for the onslaught. The RNC has over $200 billion waiting to say all the things that Bernie Sanders refused to say about Joe Biden. They're going to call him a liar. They're going to call him a child-sniffing weirdo. They're going to talk about his cognitive functioning. Welcome new Status Coup member, Enya. Ooh, I love your music, Enya, too. statuscoup.com/join. With Enya joining, we are now at 1,843 members. That's 7 members away. 7 members away from hitting that 1,850. Keep signing up. I would love to get another 7 while I'm live. I just don't get it. I really don't. I say this as a Bernie Sanders supporter. I don't think Bernie Sanders is weak. I think that's overstating the case. I think Bernie Sanders doesn't understand that Joe Biden could have been nice to you. Joe Biden has not been nice to black men in America who are sitting in prison because of the crime bill he pushed. Joe Biden has not been nice to working people who literally had their jobs shipped to China and Mexico because he voted for NAFTA, pushed TPP, and all this stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable. Thanks for the super chat. Obi Alfred, $5. Bernie did not do enough, Jordan. This will not change the momentum. You know what I do think? I agree with you. I don't think it did enough. I actually think a lot of people watching are going to take a second look now at some of Joe Biden's things. I do think older people in particular who might have been watching might actually go to, quote, the YouTube and check Joe Biden on the Senate floor. A lot of them still won't be convinced, but I do think more people are actually going to research Joe Biden now because Bernie Sanders pivoted and actually put it on Biden to say, not once, not twice, 3 times, are you saying you didn't do these things? Are you saying you didn't call to cut Social Security? The problem is, I think it's coming a little bit too late. I'm live, so I'm not seeing how the pundits are reacting, but I'm almost positive the main focus for them is the headline, and that's why Joe Biden said it tonight to distract from the rest of his performance, that he said, I'm going to pick a female vice president. I'm sure that's what all of them are going for, so that might also distract. And I also think that Biden, to me, I'm not one for optics. I don't think they make a huge difference. To me, Biden came off extremely entitled throughout the debate. Like he was bothered that he even had to stand here and deal with this asshole Bernie Sanders. Just drop out already. It had a very Hillary arrogance to it. I don't know if you noticed that when Bernie was talking and making the case of him and Biden's face was visibly angry, grimacing and like, he seemed very bothered just to have to debate Bernie Sanders. I think that actually might turn a lot of people off. Will it change the course of the election? I don't know. Welcome new Status Coup member Terry. Welcome new Status Coup member Nadal. Woohoo! We are now at 1,846, I believe. Let me get the count. So I'm giving you the right numbers here. Unlike Joe Biden, I like telling the truth to my audience. We are now at 1,846. So 4 more members to get to 1,850. Let's keep it going. Sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Can't wait for the call tomorrow night. We got a lot to talk about. Got a little behind-the-scenes information to tell our members that other people might not know or might want to know. So sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Join us for as low as $5 a month. So the other thing that really stood out to me, honestly, Joe Biden has been, when they say it's not rigged, when they say the election is not rigged, when they say, Bernie Sanders, be careful, you're calling the establishment, you're saying the establishment, you're talking about black voters and this and that. Joe Biden, look how rigged it actually is. Literally, in the last month, 4 weeks ago, remember this. Welcome new Status Coup member Art. Woohoo! We are now 3 members away from 1,850. Keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. Literally 4 weeks ago, Bernie Sanders was on 60 Minutes as the frontrunner of the Democratic Party, Democratic primary. We were heading into South Carolina where Bernie Sanders, with an upset, could have put it away. Because of that, Barack Obama, literally behind the scenes, just was the puppet master of all this. He got Amy to drop out after South Carolina. He got Pete to drop out after South Carolina. He got Beto to come out of retirement, while he was standing on bars and endorse Biden in Texas, which did help Biden. Don't think that Elizabeth Warren choosing not to drop out before Super Tuesday, don't think that Barack Obama and the Democratic Party didn't have anything to do with that. They wanted Elizabeth Warren to stay in the race because she was pulling votes away from Bernie Sanders, particularly in California, particularly in Massachusetts, Texas, and these other states. Elizabeth Warren staying in the race, I'm not saying Obama demanded she do it, but the establishment and these corporate forces and the previous president had something to do with all this. All of this, what else would you call it other than all of this molding and rigging and altering things hurt Bernie Sanders and helped Joe Biden. What do you call that? Is it the Russians interfering with our elections, or is it the corporate establishment of the Democratic Party interfering with our elections? Now, what also plays a part is the lack of journalism in this country. Because do you think, I'm not saying Joe Biden would have lost South Carolina, do you think it might have made a little difference if the corporate media would have informed, particularly black voters in South Carolina, particularly older black voters? Hey, Joe Biden, he didn't get arrested in South Africa on his way to meet Nelson Mandela. He didn't participate in civil rights sit-ins. Oh, by the way, he was palling around with segregationists Strom Thurmond in the 1970s to stop busing. You think if African Americans knew any of this, it might have given them pause? And when you look at the exit polls of a lot of these states, voters decided 2 or 3 days before those primaries, particularly those Super Tuesday states, they decided 3 or 4 days before. It did have something to do with the media and the establishment all stacking the deck for Joe Biden in those days between South Carolina and Super Tuesday. Things like tonight. If Jake Tapper had an ounce of integrity, which he does not, welcome new Status Coup member Linda. We are now just two members away from 1,850. Keep signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. Can't wait for our members call tomorrow. By the way, we got 1,700 people watching at 10:30 at night. Woohoo! Make sure you press that like button. We got 1,700 people watching. 1,100 of you have pressed that like button. So let's get another 600 of you. Press the thumbs up button right under the live stream. It makes a big, big difference. And keep signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. So if Jake Tapper had an ounce of integrity, if Dana Bash had an ounce of integrity, I'm sorry, no disrespect, I just don't remember the third moderator's name from Univision. Could any one of them have said, actually, Vice President Biden, you did on the floor of the United States Senate call for cuts to Social Security? Actually, Vice President Biden, you did help write the bankruptcy bill? If journalists actually were, I don't know, call me radical, journalists, it is your job not to stand there as a mannequin. It is to point out when candidates for public office, particularly the most powerful position in the world, are lying. Woohoo! Welcome new Status Coup member Pauline. Welcome new Status Coup member Jane. Woohoo! I wish I could yell as every time a member signs up. It's like, what do they say? Every time so-and-so, an angel gets his wings. My girlfriend and I usually like scream in excitement, but we don't want to get our neighbors pissed off in our new apartment so late. So we are now at 1,850 members with Pauline and Jane joining us. Thank you. Keep signing up. Again, if you sign up tonight or tomorrow, you'll get an invite to our members-only call, 7:30 Eastern tomorrow night, 4:30 Pacific. It's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of TMI. We share a lot of the behind the scenes you would not normally know about. So, my closing thoughts. I think that Bernie did a good job tonight. I think the first half hour was about as bad as a performance that I've ever seen from Bernie. I think he was basically MIA for the first half hour. I think he was going at Donald Trump more than he was Joe Biden. I don't know if his campaign had made a strategic decision not to go after Joe Biden in the discussion of the coronavirus. If that's the decision they made, it was the wrong decision. Sorry to tell you. That is the topic you should have gone after Joe Biden on. After the discussion pivoted away from coronavirus, I think Bernie Sanders started to really bring it. We will see. Somebody just messaged me, seeing how you can't yell, should do some whisper, woo-woo. When Bernie Sanders started pivoting, just asking direct questions, Joe, you're saying you didn't do this? To me, that was smart, because not only is he putting the onus on Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders is putting the onus on the media to actually fact-check Joe Biden. He's putting the onus on the Washington Post fact-checker, who tends to never actually fact-check and just does propaganda. He's putting the onus on PolitiFact. He's putting the onus on media outlets to actually dare call Joe Biden a liar, to actually dare point out that Joe Biden is lying. I don't believe the media will, because the media is all puppets and a super PAC of Joe Biden. But at least Bernie Sanders got Joe Biden to lie on the record 3 times. There will be some media that is brave enough to point this out. Whether the people that Bernie Sanders needs to know that Joe Biden is lying consume these media outlets or not, we don't know. But to be honest with you, as a journalist, what really troubles me the most about all this has nothing to do with Bernie Sanders. Across the world, both fascism and neoliberalism, these fascists, if you're talking about Donald Trump, or these neoliberals, if you're talking about Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton, they're able to be elevated into positions like the presidency because they're allowed to lie so much without actually being challenged on those lies. Part of why neoliberals come to power or fascists come to powers is a weak free press. We technically have a free press in this country, but we don't have a real press. We have a bunch of mannequins. We have a bunch of public relations spin artists masquerading as journalists. If any of the journalists on these debate stage would actually do their fucking job and challenge these politicians, point out when they're lying, the American people would be a lot more informed. Frankly, because I think Bernie Sanders, as a person and as a politician, made a fundamental choice somewhere along the line not to take off the gloves, not to go for the jugular, not to do the very things that Donald Trump and the Republican Party are going to do to Joe Biden if he's the nominee. He's probably going to lose. I'm just being honest with you. Because Bernie Sanders chose to keep, my friend Joe Biden and be diplomatic and not go for the jugular, he's probably going to lose. Because the truth is, and I think this is why Bernie Sanders, as a organizer and as a revolutionary figure, is really, really, really effective. But as a politician to win an election is not as effective. Is because Bernie Sanders fundamentally doesn't understand. Bernie Sanders, as a politician, doesn't understand. It's not only about, you're not only going to win based on your ideas. That's half the battle. Bernie Sanders is winning on the ideas. All you got to do is look at every primary state so far. All the voters in every single state so far. The majority of voters in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, California, other Super Tuesday states, Mississippi, the Deep South, Republican Mississippi, support Medicare for all. You have to do more than just win on the ideas. You have to also show why the other guy or gal is a fraud, is not real, doesn't have your best interest at heart. You have to discredit the other person, otherwise known as negative campaigning. Bernie Sanders, to me, deluded himself into thinking. That you could win just on the morality and effectiveness of your ideas. Unfortunately, the American people are not that smart. And they usually vote against their own interests because they're very gullible and consume too much CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, and Washington Post. And when I criticize Bernie, debate after debate, for not doing what I'm saying he should have done, everyone was yelling at me, Jordan, wait, he's waiting for the right moment. Well, Peter, I'm only here because Jimmy Dore isn't live right now. Well, I'll take your sloppy seconds, Peter. That's nice of you. Do love my friend Jimmy. So that's the deal. I think it's Sunday. The primaries in Ohio, Florida, Illinois, and Arizona are Tuesday. I think, honestly, by tomorrow night, you could actually be looking at them postponing those primaries. I think there is a chance. If you saw in Denmark, for example, I texted my dad, who, like a lot of older people, is not taking this seriously enough. In Denmark, there were 80 cases on Monday. By Friday, there was 1,000. Let me say that again. In Denmark, there were 80 cases on Monday. By Friday, there was 1,000. This virus is spreading so quickly. It is so contagious that the situation just day to day can be vastly different. So I think we're already seeing today. This morning, Mayor Bill de Blasio in New York City, the biggest city in the country, said, I'm not going to shut down schools. By afternoon, the schools are being shut down here in New York City. Till earliest they would be reopened, I believe, is the end of April. So it is possible. It is possible that the contests in these 4 states, the in-person voting is postponed, like we've seen in Louisiana, and one other, Georgia has also postponed. I would wait to see tomorrow night, but I think it's possible. To me, it is shameless, absolutely shameless, of the Democratic Party, the DNC, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, and frankly, I don't think Bernie Sanders. We just got an alert, New York City to ban eating out. And frankly, Bernie Sanders, I don't think, has called for it either. This is a time for leadership, not politics. It is literally, you're putting people at risk by urging them to go wait at poll lines. You do not have to be showing symptoms. You could have coronavirus and not have any symptoms yet. It is taking, in a lot of cases, 4 to 5 days for symptoms to show up. So if Joe Biden, who tweeted out earlier, hey, if you're not feeling symptoms and you're not at risk, go vote. Well, you could not be showing symptoms and be carrying the virus and be standing next to an older person online that's more susceptible to it. So that's it. I don't have much more. I think Bernie, after that first half hour, did really, really well. I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference. I think this is I think what Bernie did in the last hour and a half, I wish he would have done 6 debates ago. But we'll see. We'll see how many people actually go to the YouTube and look into Joe Biden's lies. We'll see if the corporate media covers up all his lies tonight. If you're coming late to this, he lied that he never called to cut Social Security. He lied about that 3 times on the debate stage. He lied that he never supported the bankruptcy bill. He helped write the damn thing. He lied about his vote in the Iraq War. He lied that he's not against the ban on fracking. Excuse me. He lied that he is for a ban on fracking. He is 100% not for banning fracking. He lied that he wasn't voting for the Hyde Amendment. He lied so many times. It's like Trump. It's hard to keep up with this amount of lying. But the media will probably give him a pass on all of it because the media is one giant super PAC for Joe Biden. And because Joe Biden said, I'm going to pick a female vice president, all the feminists in the country are going to rejoice and not even care that if you're an older feminist, well, this guy's lying about trying to cut your Social Security. Or if you're a younger feminist, this guy voted against the Hyde Amendment or voted for the Hyde Amendment many, many times, which would have harmed poorer working women and their abilities to get an abortion. I will be live again tomorrow night, normal time, 4 o'clock Eastern time, right here on YouTube. That's 1 o'clock Pacific. And then tomorrow night, one more reminder, we will have our monthly members call, Jen and I, with you. Statuscoup.com/join. Sign up as a member right now or tomorrow to get an invite to that members call. But I will be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern time right here. If something breaks related to Corona earlier than that, I will go live earlier than that. Thank you so much for watching, joining me after this debate. I would love to know what you think. Email us at info@statuscoup.com if you have any story ideas, any tips or updates about the coronavirus in your neighborhood, or any stories otherwise. Also, remember, Status Coup can only grow as far as you'll take us. We have been all over this country. We take no money from the corporate fuckers. No money from the bankers, no money from the fossil fuckers, no money from big real estate, no money from Silicon Valley, no money from big pharma, no money from the plutocrats funding the Republican Party, no money from the plutocrats funding the Democratic Party. Our funding comes from you, the people. Keep signing up. We are now just 150 members. 150 members away from 2,000. Let's get it done. Statuscoup.com/join. See you tomorrow. Peace out.